Okay.
Okay. Hello and welcome to another Sacred You panel discussion. This is Julie Nelson,
Hi.
your host. I feel like I'm on TV here saying that. And I'm here with a panel of gorgeous ladies today where we are going to be talking about awakening the soul, exploring spiritual transformation. And before we go on, I would actually love to give you, all the panel members here, can you tell everybody who you are and what you do in one quick sentence, 30 seconds? Claudia.
Hello, everyone. I'm Claudia. I'm from South Africa, and I'm in the holistic wellness space. One sentence.
Yay, well done, Jennifer.
Hi, everyone. Jennifer Regular from Lighting the Path. And really, what I do is hold the space for you to become the full expression of yourself.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. Brandy.
Yes, I'm Brandy Van. I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I'm a psychic medium mentor. So I teach people a proven roadmap on how to develop their psychic abilities.
Perfect. Sadie.
Hi there, my name is Sadie. I am a medicine woman and energy healer and founder of Healing Sacred Feminine. And I'm just super passionate about supporting us all to move from a fear-based way of living into more of a love-based, heartfelt way of living.
Love it. Love it. Sue. Oh, could you unmute, beautiful lady?
Yes, now I'm unmuted. I'm Sue Rumack, and I am the founder of Courageous Path. Hold on a second. I changed the name of it recently. I've got two going. It is Calm the Overwhelmed Coaching Services. I support women, high-powered women who are managing burnout and overwhelm to manage and control their burnout symptoms using energy.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's powerful when we do it short, sweet, and succinct like that, because it's so much easier to remember. I am Rich Witch Julie, artisan botanical perfumer, astrologer, and leading women into rising unapologetically in their truth and their feminine essence. So I'm excited for today, and it's funny, I'm feeling more grounded now, and I'm just looking at all your beautiful faces with smiles. So thank you. It's lighting me up. So shall we get stuck into the questions, and then we can talk a little bit about Sacred You at the very end, and how people can contact you. And of course, links will be in the bottom of this thread. And if anybody in the audience is watching us, if you have a question, please share in the comments, and we will come back to you if we don't see it. And you can tag anybody here specifically if you have a question for any one of the gorgeous women here. So our first question to Awakening the Soul, Exploring Spiritual Transformation is, what does the term spiritual transformation mean for you personally? And I am going to go with Sadie first. Sadie.
Wow. Okay. Hi. What does spiritual transformation mean for me personally? In reflecting on this, I feel like it's when we start to realize that there's much more going on here than we ever could have possibly imagined. When we start moving out of our more 3D experience and beyond many of the constructs and the belief systems that we've been handed by society and many of the systems that we've grown up in, and we start Yeah, being ready to expand our consciousness and expand our experience of reality. And we start asking questions, and we start realizing that there are many questions to ask, and we start exploring and opening up. And when we do that, the universe just starts meeting us, and so many things start opening up for us. And it's that phrase, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. When we start moving in that direction, or we take one step forward and God takes 10 steps towards us, or something like that. But it just starts opening, and then the transformation is rapid, exhilarating, exhausting, overwhelming, amazing, joyful, dark night of the soul. Everything, our whole existence, our whole experience gets completely rearranged. And it is seriously a transformation. We transform from our one way of being into a completely different way. And that continues and goes and goes and goes, and there's just really no end to it. So it's an ongoing process. It's rich, it's gorgeous, it's all the things. I can't imagine doing life any other way, and I love talking about it. So I'm so thrilled to be here. Thanks, Julie. Thank you, everybody. Yay.
Thank you. Thank you. And when you talk about questions, it always comes to me that, I always question the status quo, but we have to question ourselves first to be able to lead in to every other avenue where we can create that spiritual transformation. Claudia.
Thank you, Julie, and hi, everyone. Exactly what Sadie said. I totally agree with what she said. It's an ongoing process. We become truth seekers. It's all about self-discovery, deepening the connection with ourselves and the relationship with ourselves, and being open to exploring our truth, being authentic. And it has ebb and flow, and we just don't know when and how. It's like a sort of a different process. We don't know when it's going to happen, but certain things happen at different times. We don't expect it, that we have these little awakenings all the time, I believe. And I think it's really a deeper connection to ourselves, our purpose, our inner being, and being open and accepting of ourselves in the process, and definitely questioning our values, our beliefs, and making that transition from what was to what is to what will be.
I love that. I love that. And being open to receive the signs and symbols that show up to us every day. As you said, they're consistently showing up. I love that. Thank you, Claudia. Sue.
Spiritual transformation, personally, for me, I've been in communication with my guides since I was about 8 years old. And I was taken out of body the first time when I was 8 years old. So transformation for me is a day-by-day experience. What I've learned is that as much as many people will seek transformation and read and study and do psychedelics and move into groups and move from group to group, I think that transformation, if people can allow themselves to, like ebb and flow is a beautiful word that both Sadie and Claudia mentioned. And I think that we are all constantly in spiritual transformation. We just don't know it. So there are times when we feel that we have one foot in the real world, while at the same time, our other foot is in a different place. It's in a different world. So we feel a little bit off balance, a little bit shaky in our legs, or maybe shaky in our gut. Those could be the moments when we are experiencing a spiritual moment. and allowing ourselves just to be there, not question it, but question what you're feeling. So why is this important to me? That's always one of the questions I ask. What is it that I didn't know about this before this moment? And my guides who are in this transformation with me and with you will answer those questions, but you have to ask them.
You do have to ask.
Right? You do have to ask them. So, I mean, I've had so many. Every day I walk by the lake and the water glinting, the sun glinting off the water, those sparkles. If I unfocus my eyes, I'm taken someplace else. I'm having a conversation with somebody that gives me information that I give information to about our world. That transformation doesn't just happen to me. I'm also sharing my transformation out to those who are perhaps guiding me, and it's affecting them as well. So our transformation doesn't necessarily affect just this world; it also affects other worlds. So
yes, yes,
I think for me personally, it's an ebb and flow. It's a give and take. It's being in wonder, not in awe, because in awe, you lose your sensibility, but in wonder about what it is that's actually happening, and asking about that, asking why, what is this? What is it? What is it? Deeper, deeper, deeper. And if you stay in it long enough, I mean, long enough might only be a minute and a half in our time, but other time, the other dimension, it can feel like it's 2 days. But it's actually a minute and a half. So that's my long answer to your short question.
Thank you. Thank you. And I hear you. I hear you. And it's for me too, that constant evolution. And yeah, asking questions. I often ask myself, what are my next steps? What do I need to do now? Which are questions I ask myself consistently. Thank you. Jennifer.
When I think of transformation, it's usually about a process that we tend to go through where there's some awareness and then some sort of initiations that I like to call a rite of passage, where we go through a really challenging time to recognize just how capable we are and how we might be guided, and to be calling in supports to surround us. And then there's like this rebirth, right? There's like this newness, a renewal of our energy, our soul, and our life. When I think more of transformation in a spiritual sense, it's also transcending form, right? When we look at the word transformation, we're transcending any form that we've ever taken before in our life, in our roles, in our way of being. And then we actually, in the spiritual transformation, for me, it's more about a reawakening. So recognizing and reawakening to the fact that we are spiritual beings having this human experience. And when we go through these human trials and tribulations, we tend to forget that and get really caught up in trying to control our circumstances and situation and our emotions and all of the things that really make us human, and become dismembered in a sense, right? They become fragmented. We diffuse our energy, and then it's almost like an identity crisis, a spiritual crisis, an emergency that comes up. But there's this emergence of our soul that comes through that as well, a new recognition, and the light comes back on. So it's also a reawakening. I see it when we talk about spiritual transformation. And that has been my experience as I've gone through it myself. It feels like, just breaking through these illusions and then just coming into a new way of being in the world.
Yes, I love that. Always coming into a new way, isn't it? Because each time we evolve or up level or transform, it's a new way of being. It's exciting.
Yeah, and then when our spirit is allowed that space, then we can really free our spirit to direct the life that we're meant to live.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. Thank you. Brandy Van.
Okay, what can I say that the ladies already did? So piggybacking on what everyone said, really, for me, I feel like my spiritual transformation was when I just let go of all my toxic behaviors. And so I really looked at, like, what am I doing? What am I unhappy with? And going through that self-discovery journey and really like opening up to myself, trusting myself more, enhancing my intuition, all of that. And then it's more accepting myself. So for all my flaws, for all my mistakes, and then looking at anything that happens to me from now on, like instead of why is this happening to me, but like instead, what is this trying to teach me? What am I learning from this? What did I learn from this in the past that I don't want to repeat again? I've been strong in the past. I'll get through this moment. So it really gives you that strength that you need, that trust in yourself, to know that you're calm and balanced, and whatever's thrown at you in life, you'll just stay in that calm, balanced place. And then, of course, like all the divine energy that comes through, and how Jennifer was saying, I do feel like there was a twist in my reality. Like I felt like, I've learned X for so long, and now I'm changing to Y and Z. And so you do have that moment of everything changing, but it's a beautiful, amazing way to live. And I never want to go back to how it was before. It's just so awesome.
I love that, and I feel your excitement with it. It's gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, our next question is, what spiritual practices, if any, do you currently engage in, and how do you envision your spiritual journey evolving in the future? And it's great for us to reflect on what it is that we do ourselves, to give everybody some tips, perhaps, that are listening. And I might just say for myself, I feel like I'm in ritual. Oh, I'm not even feel, I am in ritual every day throughout the day, which helps me to keep in the sacred space or place that I desire to do. And it's as simple as being mindful of what I eat and drink, and using my own tools that I work with, and even having a shower with the cleansing. So it's very much about ritual for me, my perfumery, and constantly looking at the moon and what's going on astrologically, so I can ebb and flow, with all that is around me, being in nature. So these things I engage with, because I live in the mountains and I've got trees. I'm looking out at the trees at the moment. Really help me to consistently be in transformation. So let's go to Jen. What would you say?
All right. Well, it's such a huge part of my life. So a lot of it is sprinkled in throughout my days and my seasons and my months and through the year. So currently, a daily practice is meditation and reading inspirational readings, or taking Dharma classes, or other types of texts that I read or listen to. I do a sacred sit spot every week, and so that's where I set up my space. Usually have some incense, or I might smudge or put out some other kind of sacred medicines, and maybe light a candle, just kind of set into a sacred space. And then I sit with my journal, and I journal about the week, and it's just free flow of what's happened, some reflection, some introspection's another big practice. And then also part of that sacred sit spot is thinking about 3 things that I want to release and 3 things that I want to invite in. And then, of course, reflecting on how that went the week before. So there's, a lot of reflection and introspection in many of the practices, and in the meditation as well, and doing sacred card spreads at seasons, equinox and solstice and so on. And then I also do a shamanic practice as well. And so I do that individually and with my shamanic practice group. And That's also a big part of my practices. So that's current things. And then there's a lot that's been in the past and that I still want to delve into the future. But yeah, those are some different suggestions and practices that I find very useful. Also, having time for retreats as an empath downtime is really important. So I consider that a spiritual practice. It's sacred silence, sacred time. And the four shamanic practices really are nature, sweet silence, the sound, and dancing and singing.
Oh.
And so, yeah, those are all part of it too, communing with nature and the celestial beings and just being in connection with myself, with spirit, and with all that's around me.
And aligns with you. I mean, we're constantly in practice and ritual every day, all day, for many of us that are in this field. And so I'm going to invite our audience to actually write a list of all the things that they do and see how they can connect that with ritual and spiritual practices. I don't like bright lights, so I'm in candlelight every night. I don't know, I just have never liked bright lights, so I love being in candlelight. And of course, incense like Palo Santo is one of my favorite, and using my oils, of course, and connecting with my animals, and especially my unicorns. They're the most magical little beings and they are real. For those of I've got 5 mini horses and I call them unicorns. I mean, that is phenomenal magic that I receive from them and my cats. So, and that's what I did one day myself. I actually was thinking about everything, and my whole day is full of rituals. So write down all of the things that you do. And when we become mindful is when we begin to explore that spiritual transformation and ritual throughout our day. It's beautiful. Sue.
For me, it's funny. I came to, I lived spirituality my entire life. I never realized that I was living spirituality. I didn't have a name to put to it. I just knew that I was different from other people. And for me, I actually didn't start thinking about my spiritual practices until I was probably in my late 50s, maybe even early 60s. And it was at that point that I realized that there were certain things that made me connect with beyond here, that made me feel right, that I was more whole. For me, that's being out in nature. I need to be in trees. I need to be around water. Water can be a big open expanse, or it can be just a trickling little stream, even just a little culvert thing that's just got a little trickle. But I have to be in and around water. If I can't get to water, I wash dishes. I'll turn on my faucets full, make the water comfortable, and I will just wash the dishes, or I'll take a shower. And it's the water touching somewhere on my body that for me is spiritual. It's a practice. So that's one thing that I do. Walking in nature, putting ass to dirt, putting my bum on the ground and sitting there and just connecting with the roots of the trees. I did a 4-month trip a few years back that ended up in a book that I wrote that was basically, it's called And the Trees Danced. And it's tree wisdom. The trees gave me their version of creation. And their version of creation is very, very different from ours. So it's not been published yet. It will be when the time is right. But their wisdom is enough to break your heart and make it whole all over again. So for me, being in nature, being around the trees, I'm not a tree hugger. I'm a tree sitter. Okay. I'll sit at the base of the tree, put my back against it, close my eyes and go, what are we talking about today? So my spiritual practices are water and trees. I work with a lot of people. I work from home and I'm global. So a lot of their energy when I'm working on overwhelm with them comes into my home. So I work with protective energies, vibrational frequencies. And part of that is working with singing bowls to clear my, so I don't work on singing bowls with my clients unless they request it. If they do, absolutely. I use singing bowls, I use crystals, and I use sage or Palo Santo. And that clears my space. As I'm clearing my space, I'm calling on the ancestors to come in with me to make this a whole and healthy space, open to health and reinvigoration. And I don't just call on, I call on the 5 elements as well. I call on the ancestors of the land. I live in an apartment building. How many thousands of people live in my apartment building kind of thing? Their energy is running through my, so basically I clear my space. I clear the space under the building with the help of the ancestors, of course, and it clears the whole building, not just my space. It makes it a healthier, happier environment. We have no crime in this building at all. We have the police, while I've been here, I've never been called once, not once, to solve any domestic problems. So, I mean, I work with natural elements. I work with water, with trees, and I call on my guides. Part of my spiritual practice is that I'm not alone in this universe. And it's their presence that answers a lot of my questions and brings me back into balance so that I can continue comfortably moving forward. Everything that Jennifer said, bang on, 100%. Anything, I think you started with, who did you start with? Help me on this. I think you started with Jennifer and then you came to me. But everything that Jennifer said, everything, every single one of her practices for somebody who's just starting out on their spiritual transformation and their spiritual connection, everything she says, one at a time, don't try and do them all at once. It's just way too overwhelming. But everything she says,
yes,
is 100%. And everything that you said as well about ritual, we need to have ritual. We need to have consistency in our spiritual transformation. So I've taken enough time. And I think I'm done now.
Thank you.
Okay.
I feel very called to share something with you about trees, if you don't mind. Being an aromatherapist, of course, I've studied plant medicine, and I also have a horticultural background. And many, many, many years ago, while I was training to be a clinical aromatherapist, I read this excerpt in a book, and with trees, they have such wisdom. I actually happen to have this right beside me, like the magic of trees. So when most of us have always thought that trees communicate through their roots because their root systems work out. However, what they do is they release chemicals through their leaves. So if they are being damaged, chopped, or even damaged by an animal, they actually release chemicals out of their leaves that travel a very long way to reach all of the trees that are around them to say danger, danger. And then those trees release more chemicals to keep going. It's just phenomenal. And I get goosebumpy when I talk about trees because it's such a beautiful thing. And they are very wise and magical and just beautiful, because they're so adaptable to Mother Earth and the elements as well. They're very, very healing. So thank you. I just felt to share that because sometimes I feel like trees are so abused and underestimated, and they're very intelligent beings. So thank you for bringing that up. Brandy, let's hear from you.
Okay, so my daily is a lot as well. So I definitely meditate every day. I do a lot of journaling, but I have like a spirit guide journal, and I have a meditation journal. I have a dream journal, and then I have my regular everyday journal. So I have like multiple of those. I'm really big into vision boards. Like right now, I have 3 different vision boards going on. Um, and then I also make sure I ground myself every day. I also protect my energy as well. And then one of my biggest things, because like I'm a very hyper person, so I always want to be positive. So that's like my biggest thing, is to keep my vibration like risen. And so I think other people can see how passionate and how positive I am. And so that's like my goal in life, is to then have someone else feel my positivity so that they are then positive. So that's like a big part of my all day, every day. And then also gratitude lists. And so I have multiple of those going on too, one for the family, one for like the universe. So I always seem to have multiple things. Like right now, I'm reading like 3 books at a time. So yeah, I feel like I do things in multiples of 3. But yeah, so, and I always love to read about spiritual stuff as well. It just is like enhances my knowledge, and there's so much to learn all the time on it. Like I feel like I could read all day, every day, and I still not know everything. So yeah, so I think I got everything there. Oh, and positive affirmations as well. And that helps you keep that positive attitude too. So yeah, I think that's everything.
Thank you. And you're gleaming, and yes, you can feel that brightness exuding from you, and you can't help smiling. It's really lovely. Thank you. I'm a big affirmation person as well, because I find them very powerful. So thank you. Claudia.
Thank you, Julie. It's very similar to what everyone has said already. Meditating every day is part of the ritual, morning ritual. Being mindful, paying attention, as you said, to what you eat, how you're interacting, observing, being more of a listener, I think is part of my ritual too.
Yes.
Paying attention to what's going on inside of me. Doing that in spending, being in nature, spending time in nature. And just recently, I certified as a cacao facilitator. So now I have embraced this new heart-opening medicine, very sacred, and just also, Sue said, bringing in the elements, acknowledging earth, fire, air, water, ether, and acknowledging, these elements with, I think it was Jennifer who mentioned the, sorry, she mentioned something about, it's just left my mind for a second now. But apart from the elements, the cacao ritual is about heart opening, bringing awareness to oneself, healing, sharing that in sacred cacao ceremonies, and as an everyday ritual, helping me as well. So going through that process, acknowledging that process, calling in, she's known as Mama Cacao, the spirit of cacao. And that's one ritual I take very seriously on a daily basis. She gives you what you need.
Yes, yes.
And then
cacao.
Yes, so it's 100% ceremonial cacao that has been blessed. It's sacred, and it takes us back to the Mayans.
Mm-hmm.
And even before that, the Olmecs. So, yes, so I found that very important for me. And also dreams. I believe a lot of decoding happens while we sleep. So sleep is important, the whole sleep ritual. before going to sleep. What are you doing before sleep? That's important for me. We're not on cell phones or on our computers or watching TV, answering emails. I think it's downtime for us to just even get in touch, either journal the day, or what happened in the day, or just to take notes, give gratitude, using that time before sleep, setting the intention for the dreams as well, I think is important. Because sometimes there are messages there, if you pay attention and if you have a dream journal, noticing the patterns on how, we're being spoken to, I believe, and that's, I think, sleep, before sleep and in the morning. What are you doing in the morning? That ritual too, not just waking up, putting your cell phone on, checking your messages, but taking that time to set the intention for the day and just connecting with yourself.
Beautiful. And I have two things to respond to with you. I do cacao ceremony with Wheel of the Year every 6 or 7 weeks with a group of women, and it's just so beautiful because we get to work with Mama Cow plus celebrate the Wheel of the Year, and I love
lovely.
it. Yeah, and we do craft and eat specific foods, etc. And with dreaming, I don't necessarily journal my dreams, but I dream seed. So I in my journal, I write my dream seeds, what I desire to dream into reality, which I really love. And yeah, thank you. I actually work with cacao also as an essential oil, because you can get the absolute and the CO2 extraction, and it's very, very powerful. So I love cacao ceremony. It's about unleashing or unlocking hidden desires. For those
Right.
Yeah, it's powerful. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you, Julie.
Sadie.
Oh, this is such a huge question. I will say yes to everything that everybody shared. What it comes down to for me is the energetics of it. What am I surrounding myself with? And I just am very intentional with surrounding myself with high vibe frequencies versus low vibe. And that's, that's really all the practices that everybody has said. Gratitude is a high vibe, love, joy, nature, abundance, really watching my thoughts, not being around, not filling my environment with things like the news, people that aren't supporting the high vibe frequencies I want to be in. Being in, again, lighting is also very important for me. The lighting really can upset our aura, then there's just so many things. It's just getting very intentional with what we surround ourselves with and what kind of thoughts we're having, and really always looking at our belief systems, even those belief systems that seem just so natural and normal, and just like kind of picking those apart. And actually, where did I come up with that? And is that serving me? And my highest good? And sometimes it's just like keeping us in limitation. And it's funny. It can be mundane things. Like for me recently, it's just like, I need to do this in order for this to happen. It doesn't come out as like this is a negative thing necessarily, but when you start picking it apart, it's like, actually, that's not really true, and just opening up to a much different way of being. So really a lot of self-reflection and constant learning. Somebody else said, I think, reading. I am listening to teachings just so much. I just love to listen to teachings and reading spiritual books, so again, that's keeping my energy at a very high vibration, and that attracts more high vibration things towards me and to me. So that for me was the basis, is starting to understand that everything in our world and our experience is energy. And when we start to relate to it as energy, we start to have so much more control of what energies we have in our environment and what we surround ourselves with. So it drastically changed everything. So like my meditation practice is all about, working with the energy in my channels and such, and opening them up. And again, working with my own vibration, detoxing my body. Health is a really huge thing. We can be around positive things, but if we're filling our body with stuff and we're not exercising and taking care of ourselves, and we're filled with heavy metals and toxins, that's our vibration. So I've really been working with that a lot recently, getting a lot more into, as we are ascending, as there's so much more light coming onto the planet, our bodies are going through a lot of change, and really doing what I can to work with the frequencies of my body to help it elevate as well. So yeah, intention is a huge one. What is that saying we hear all the time, where attention goes, energy flows? So where am I putting my thoughts and my actions and my everything, so yeah. And just like, I love being around people who are just so freaking intentional with their day. We're all just like deep in it, like it's not really like, everything is a practice. And I know when I started on my spiritual path, that was, initially we would sit on our cushion, we had our little meditation, but my teacher was like, it's integrated practice. That's what we're moving towards, where everything in your day is about practice. It's just, and you don't even call it practice. It's just how you live now. So it sounds like this is kind of part of it. So for people out there that are maybe getting started on their path and this feels overwhelming, it just kind of starts happening naturally. That's part of the spiritual transformation. You start to understand that, again, you start moving towards the higher vibe things that are supporting you because it feels so good. So you just kind of naturally start moving in that direction and start moving away from the lower vibe, denser things that don't feel supportive anymore. And I'll say, as part of the transformation, that can be a very painful process, because you do start moving away from some of those older things, and that can be people that have just been in your life forever. But you recognize that like their vibration and where they're at doesn't feel good and isn't really supporting you as you're moving along. So that's where, when I mentioned earlier that dark night of the soul, we can go through some of that where everything's just falling apart and we're losing all these things. But we're elevating. So ultimately it's a positive thing, but that is part of the transformation that we're kind of always working through, which is, for me, I know I'm about to be done here, but even as far along as I've gone, there's still those funny belief systems that I keep running into, like, really, I thought we'd worked with this. There's subtle little things that are still like, okay, all right. So there's like, it's just an ongoing. So yeah, thanks again for everybody. I love hearing what everybody's up to. It's gorgeous.
I've muted myself. It is indeed. Yes. So thank you. It's beautiful. And our last question, which I want to have a bit of time before we wrap up today. So our last question is very powerful. Well, it is for me. Can you share one, maybe let's stick to one example that you've experienced in your life that has been like a spiritual transformation, or helped you to step into that? And I might start with myself, because it's been so big for me. And honestly, it was really the biggest one was when my daughter was born, and she nearly died at birth and has nearly died several times after. And that was the biggest wake up for me. I don't think anything could top that in my life, even in the future, other than it being related to her. And it truly, like, even though my whole life, I'm not going to say so much spiritual, but witchy and doing ritual and fascinated by so many things in nature. But that was the biggest wake-up call I've had in my life that created massive massive transformation. And through a lot of pain, as Sadie said, going through these things can be quite painful, and it was. And there was like these, ripple effects from it for many, 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 many years, that through it, I am an incredible woman that I may not ever have had the opportunity to be through this life transforming experience. And it was a spiritual awakening, because I could write a book on this, but I won't keep going on. But it's like, wow, wake up call, big time. So let's keep that. So let's say we've got 10 minutes, okay? Who do I need? Brandy, let's go first.
Okay, so my biggest moment was my family and I were all in the hospice room when my grandma was taking her last breath. And as she did, I literally felt her spirit rise above the bed. And when I looked above the bed, there were all these like brilliant, magnificent colors that like aren't even in our human world. And they were forming a star, and they were beating in and out like a heartbeat. And in that moment, I just knew, like, don't know how I knew, but I knew that she was at peace. I knew her angels were there. I knew she was going on to this beautiful next transition of her life. And I knew she wanted me to see that. And I also knew, even though at that time I was not a medium yet, that I would be talking to her again. And now I've talked to her so many times. I can call on her when I want. And my whole view of death changed. And it really got me into my journey, because I was like, I've always been so fearful of this, but this is like actually really awesome, beautiful thing that's happening. And so that really got me on my journey, because it was just life changing. It was just amazing. So,
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's gorgeous.
Thanks.
Claudia.
Thank you, Julie. I remember a time when I was about 11 years old. When I was younger, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, but at the age of 11, my grandfather passed away, and we had a special bond. And after he passed away, a couple of months later, we went to see my mom and I. And I said to her, "Oh, there's grandfather." And she goes, "Where?" And I said, "There," I pointed to show. And but what, are you seeing things? She couldn't understand. And that I so believed that I saw him living, breathing, standing at the post box, actually, with his hat and cane. And she couldn't believe actually that I'm seeing her father. It was her father. And that kind of that was a message to say, there's more to us. This universe is something else. There's just so much to explore. And that kind of cracked things open, you could say, for me.
Yeah.
That's when the journey sort of started.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Claudia. Sue. Sue.
Got it. Okay. So many stories. There's a story every day. I don't know which one to pull on first. I think for me, most recently, it's that my guides, my angels, and I talk all the time. And while I, as a spiritual person, am always looking to them for guidance and help, there comes a time, and not when you first begin your journey, not when you first begin your experiences and your conversations with them, but at some point, you may be invited to help them in some way, because we have power here that they don't have there. So around 11/11, Remembrance Day, and this started about 13, 14 years ago. I was called to help the angels. I call them the lost spirit retrieval angels. There's a lost spirit retrieval bureau somewhere in another dimension that takes care of bringing back the spirit that got separated from soul in a tragic, violent ending. And they asked me if I would be the voice. They would project through me. I would be the voice. I'm not in this dimension. I'm in another dimension that will draw lost spirit towards the light, to be taken back into source, heaven, whatever you want to call it, to be made whole again, to be reunited with soul, so that they can continue their journey and complete the Akashic record story of the human being whose life they shared. So for the past 14 years on Remembrance Day, I have been that beacon. And it might take me an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours of standing or sitting somewhere in the sunlight and just being that voice. Now, I don't say it out loud, but I am projecting the voice that they give me, and they create the vibrational frequency that wakes up the lost spirit and draws them, if they're willing to come, back to be healed and made whole. To me, it's an incredible honor. It's my opportunity to give back everything that they give to me and have given me my entire life. So that's not everybody can do this. Not everybody's called to do this. I'm not saying that I'm special. It's just that we have a different kind of relationship because it's been my entire life. And don't be surprised if one day you're asked to do something that's healing for mankind or for the soul spirit world.
Beautiful.
That's my story.
Yeah, I love that. And it's true. It's not about relying on our spirit realm, our spirit guides, or I call them my spirit team. We have a very important role to play as well. And yeah, it's about listening, receiving. Thank you. Beautiful.
And answering the call when we're called.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to answer the call. It will give you as much, perhaps even more than you think you're giving them.
And trusting. Yeah. Trusting. Jennifer.
I'm glad you narrowed it down to just one.
Yeah, I thought, I was thinking,
I'm like, oh gosh, where can I go with this? There's been so many,
I know.
on the journey. But and there's one really massive one that's actually written out in my story on my website. You can always go there and read about one major one that I had. So I won't talk about that one. What I will talk about then is one that's not a very long story, and that's not necessarily precipitated by a traumatic event or a catastrophic event. And it was at an ashram in Indonesia, in Bali, and it was just as intense as going through something, pretty traumatic and catastrophic. The intensity of this awakening, of this love, of this soul opening, heartbreaking, like wide open kind of experience that words can't really explain. There was just so much emotion and love and light and this incredible awareness and awakening of the fullness of who I am. And it was just like complete true self, authenticity. Like I said, there's no real words to describe it. It was just the experience of that. And then the realization when I came back to Canada after that I was not the same person. And it took a lot of readjustment, a lot of recalibration, because it was different frequencies and densities again to then become accustomed to, readjust, and then still wanting to hold that other part too. And so, since then, just continuing to build the capacity to hold it all, And so, yeah, this spiritual transformation, awakening, it's not always, coming out of something dark and heavy. It can come out as something really beautiful and bright as well. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Recalibration is one of my favorite words. I feel like I'm constantly recalibrating as things come in, and yeah, I love it. Recalibrate and realign, especially with all the planets that are in still in retrograde. It's all about that inner work, inner healing, inner self, inner awakening to recalibrate and realign. Thank you, Jennifer. Sadie, how about you?
I was just trying to narrow it down as well. So I was going in one direction after some death stuff, but then after hearing Jennifer, I'm going to share my one that was just like complete game changer. And it was right after things were kind of shutting down around COVID. And I was in a coffee shop, and there was some, people were very fearful, and there was just some weird energy. And I was very sensitive. I was very upset. Like, why can't we just love each other and care for each other? And I went home with this, and I just kept contemplating this, and I started like, why don't we just love each other more? And what is that? And my heart, I just started feeling this kind of little tickle in it. And things just started opening up in a really strange, bizarre way. And then I kind of realized this column was happening, and I was like lost in this heart opening experience. And then I was feeling this energy rushing through my spine, but I was kind of outside of it. And it was just like, in this background, I was like, holy heck, this is that Kundalini thing that they're talking about that I've read so much about. And it was just this like massive energy experience, but it opened up into this Christ consciousness, which is not anything that I subscribed to. I was in following a Hindu tradition, and it's like, if somebody's going to show up for me, it should be, like Durga or, something. And here was this Christ thing that was love. It was love. Like, I've been looking for this love forever. And when I go to Hindu temples, I'm just like, just let me know what love is. I just want to know what love is. I just want to know what love is. And because I knew what my human mind was experiencing or thinking was love was not love, that wasn't, that there was so much more. And then this was just like, holy heck, we are actually made of love, was what I came to know. Like, there is no separation. There's nothing here but love. That's all that there is. And I saw my partner and other people. I was just like, oh my gosh, that is me, like there's no separation. And then there was this death. There was actually nothing left of me to be me. It was just like, okay, so this is like a dissolving, like like an ego death, but it was more, there was just nothing there. There was nothing there to be a me anymore. And this went on for some time, and eventually I came out of it, which was really rough, because it was just like I wanted to stay in that place all the time, and then it was like kind of a trying to get back there. But it was more, now it's just like my beacon. I actually know the truth, so now nothing can go back. I can never go back to not knowing love, even if I'm not in that state of constant like ananda or bliss or just love. Like, I mean, just, yeah, again, like Jennifer said, there's no words for this kind of stuff. We all know those experiences are like, you can't put into words, but I know the truth now, and that informs absolutely everything that I do. And there is no fear. There's no fear of death anymore. There's no fear of anything, there's just, I mean, yes, of course, there's the fears that we work with, but do you know what I mean? The ultimate is like, that's not our experience. There is nothing to be afraid of. Death is not a thing to be afraid of. But the fact that we're love, we actually are love. Like, that's just, the talk about a recalibration after that, it was just like mind blown. So yeah, that, I get so excited. I could talk about that for a long time. I know we're out of time here, but it's fun to share about that experience. I didn't share about it for a long time, and now I feel like it's a place where it's inspiring to share about it, I think, where before I wanted to keep that to myself, and, and just kind of like, was that real, kind of thing even.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks all for listening. That's fun.
Thank you. And it's very powerful. And I have a mantra that I speak a lot, and it is, I love, I am loved, I am, oh God, now I've forgotten it. I love, I am love, I am loved is what it is. And it's really beautiful. And I often just walk around, speaking it all the time to myself, or I sing it while I'm driving or in the shower. Thank you so much, ladies. I love these shares and sacred conversations when we have them, and we do have them regularly in the Sacred You community. And for anybody that is listening to the replay or at any time, know that everybody here, Claudia, Jennifer, Brandy, Sadie, Sue, myself, our links will be posted in the comment section below this video, and you can connect in with us and anytime that you wish. And also, I have to share with you, the sacred community for me, and I know for everybody here, is a very beautiful place to be, and it is very sacred, and there is an abundance of tribes and panel discussions that you can look over. And the best way to join us is Sophia has this amazing special to join the Sacred You community, where it is $1 for 2 weeks. And in that 2 weeks, you get to check out all of the different tribes and all, the replays, and perhaps choose some that you really like. I myself am a host of the Bewitching Tribe. Sue is the host of, just unmute and speak it for me, please.
Life Force Activators.
Jennifer is on council, and I don't think we've got any other hosts here at the moment. So there's just incredible, beautiful people. I love being in this space. Then if you think, wow, this is for me, it's continuing on for only $20 Australian a month. So for anybody overseas, it's almost half that. So I don't know of a platform where you would get this much support, information, and growth for that kind of money, and especially when you've got the opportunity in tribe meetings to be one-on-one with many of our members. So in saying that, we would love to have you join us. And again, I want to thank everybody, and I just feel that if we could share one very powerful word as we say goodbye, I'll just call out your names, and just to give that boost of beautiful energy. Sadie.
Love.
I knew you were going to say that. Of course, it's the most powerful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Brandy.
Positivity.
Yes. Jennifer.
Connection.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Connection. Claudia.
Presence.
All very powerful words. Absolutely. Sue.
Believe.
Yes. And I'm going to say trust.
Yes.
And in that, we are going to say goodbye, sending you so much love and transformation and magic every day of your life. Bye for now.